Huh?
Yeah, I've got kids' questions, so they may be slightly out of line with everyone else, but it's from Con and Vex, who are 6 and 10. And Hag as well. Hag's first question, he's 13. What do you enjoy most, voicing the video games or the animated TV shows and films?
Oh boy, what a question. It's night and day. Doing the videos and the TV shows it's like acting on stage, because you interact with the other actors. It's give and take. They always get all the actors together in a room. So there are 6 or 8 of us in there together. And it's 2 hours and you have a show done. And it's like doing a play. And it's fun, and there's a lot of give and take in the room, and it's why you became an actor, or why I became an actor. Games, because of the way they're built, they need a completely clean take of every line. So they have to have you alone in a booth. And they have you do line after line after line after line after line after line after line. And they say, great, can you do that with a little irony? Line after line. Okay, keep the irony. Now can we have a smile? Line after line. Now give us a little anger with the irony and the smile. Line. And all through that, you're trying to stay in the Batman character, keep the reality of the situation going, and just doing line after line after line in a vacuum with no other actors to deal with. So it's crazy. It's crazy. And Arkham Knight, the last of the games of the trilogy, had 157,000 lines in it. It took 2 years to build. And I had most of those lines. And it was 4 hours at a time, alone in a booth, me acting alone, line after line after line, then taking an hour for lunch, and then 4 hours again. And that went on for 2 years. So it's crazy. It's not something that you enjoy doing. I don't know of anyone who says, oh boy, I really look forward to making games. But when you see the results of it, and how beautiful they are, and how incredible they are to interact with, and how the fans love them, then I feel so proud to be a part of them. So it's the kind of thing I'm really proud to do and really proud to be a part of, but it's not nearly as much fun as doing the video games or the TV show. I mean the TV shows or the movies.
I think obviously Batman is one of the most central, important, and iconic characters of comics. I'm curious why you think, in all of his different iterations, he is such an important character, and what the character means to you as someone who's had the joy of playing him for as long as you now have.
Wow. Well, I had no idea. You know, I'm an actor. I studied at Juilliard. I did Broadway, off-Broadway, did a lot of classics, Shakespeare, and I had no way of knowing this is where my career was going to go. It was an audition. I auditioned for a job. And that was 27 years ago, and it led to this character that just went on and on and on. So it was just a really, really lucky break, but one that I studied hard for and had worked hard for. I think the reason he's so iconic is because of all the superheroes, he's the only one who has no superpowers at all. He's just an ordinary person. But what he has is a super amount of passion and a super sense of right and wrong, morality. And so he's just an average guy with $1 billion who transforms himself into this champion of pure good. There's nothing in it for him. He gets nothing out of this except the knowledge that he's healing the world. And it's all because of what happened to him as a child, avenging what happened to the murder of his parents and his being left as an orphan. And he spends his life, instead of allowing life, life, I often say life throws nothing but curveballs. No matter what you do to prepare for life, it's going to throw a curveball. You're going to constantly be switching from this to that. And if you let it, it can make you bitter. It can make you angry. It can make you hostile. Bruce Wayne doesn't allow that to happen. Life throws him this huge curveball as a child, and he takes it and he turns it into something good. And that's why audiences love him so much. People relate to him because everyone has had dark nights of the soul. We all do. People with the most charmed lives have had dark periods. So everyone relates to the darkness that Bruce Wayne goes through. And what they admire about him is his ability to overcome it and to turn it into something good. And I think that makes him the most incredible character for me to play and for audiences to enjoy.
When you're playing like both Batman and Bruce Wayne, you kind of alternate between these two characters, and they vary. They're so different in terms of the way that you're like Bruce Wayne, like the billionaire playboy, the everyday Joe as he appears to be, in a sense, with this dark kind of, in a way, he's kind of figured in his own right what happened to his parents. How do you go from one range to another? Because there's, say, like in some of the movies and the animated series, well, you'd have to alter. How do you do it as an actor?
Well, the trick for me to approaching the character, and the reason I think it's resonated with the audience is they sense this. The trick for me has been that Batman is not the disguise. Bruce Wayne is the disguise. I think Batman is what happened, is what Bruce Wayne became to deal with life, to deal with the tragedy of life, so that when I go into that dark place, that's, I think, his default position. That's who he is. So that when I go there, it doesn't sound like I'm putting on a weird voice, because it's really where the character resides. To me, Bruce Wayne is the performance. He's like the David Niven of a crowd. You know, he's the bon vivant. He's the womanizer. He's the ironic. That's all on. And that resonates with people because everyone knows that when you go to work, you put on a suit, you put on a face, you put on an appearance for the world. And when you go home, you're a different person. Everyone is. You know, no matter how sincere you try to be, you are a slightly different person at home when you're alone. And so for me, Bruce Wayne's been the performance. And when they first approached me with the character, I had very, very little experience with. It was the first animated character I ever auditioned for, first of all. And that just doesn't happen. You never get that. You never get the brass ring, you know, the first time around. My only background had been in theater, classic theater, basically. And when they described the character to me, they said, you know, what do you know about Batman? I said, well, I know the Adam West show from the 60s. And Bruce Timm, the producer, said, no, that's not what we're doing. We love Adam, but that's not what we're doing. This is, you know, dark. And they told me the film noir and tragic character, the parents murdered. I didn't know any of this stuff. So they really brought me up to speed, and they were describing it. And I said, well, you're describing a real Hamlet-like character. This is a tragic, classic, tragic hero. Let me just use my imagination. And that's when I came up with the voice and went there. And then I said, well, now that I'm playing the character, he's the richest guy in Gotham. He's the handsomest guy in Gotham. Every eligible woman wants him. Everyone knows who he is. And he puts on a mask and no one knows it's him. I said, seriously? I said, that's ridiculous. I said, let's really do something. Let me do a different voice. Not just the mask, but, you know, have him sound different. So early on, the first season, there was a clear distinction between Bruce and Batman. As I say, that sort of Niven-like quality is what I was using. He was very light, lots of irony, lots of humor. And they actually had me go back and re-record a lot of those things because they were too humorous. Once the show came back from the artists, they realized how dark it was and how film noir it was. It was jarring that suddenly there was this comic character, you know, in Wayne Mansion. So they actually had me go back and re-record just the Bruce Wayne lines. And they liked the idea that I had to make him different. But they just toned it down a lot. So in later episodes, it got to be very slight, the difference. But there's still a slight difference. But so for me, you ask, how do you go back and forth? For me, it hasn't been that hard because Batman's the default position. And to perform as Bruce Wayne, that's what I do when I go on stage as an actor. I know how to do that. So I'm comfortable performing. So
it's not hard to jump between the two.
For me, it hasn't been that big a hurdle. Because of the way I've turned around what the performance is. The performance is Bruce Wayne. that's every actor has a little hook into a character that they find. That was the one I found for this character.
I have a question.
Hi.
Throughout your entire career, you've faced so many villains, from like petty thugs to almighty deities and so on. What villain left the biggest impact on you?
Well, I mean, I can't not say Mark Hamill's Joker. I mean, come on. Joker defines Batman, and Batman defines Joker. They're just so intertwined. And I was so lucky that Mark is the actor they found to play the character, because not only is he, I only knew him as Luke Skywalker, from the Star Wars young,
Were you starstruck?
nice young man, And yeah, everyone is starstruck with Mark. And then I started working with him, and I thought, you're not a nice young man at all. You're a crazy, crazy character actor. He's really a character actor. And people didn't know that about him. I said, he was playing these nice young men because he was such a good-looking young guy. He got typecast in those roles. But he's really a nut. He's out of his mind. And he's a stage actor, too. And, in LA, there's all different kinds of actors. Actors are people. There are generous ones, there are selfish ones, there are kind ones, there are mean ones, there are ones you really want to work with and ones you just want to kill. Mark is just one of those generous, kind actors who genuinely, I know, because he watches me when I'm recording, and I see him, he's looking at me like this when I'm recording, because he knows it gives him more. He knows he's going to have more to play with. And I love watching him. And the two of us get in a booth together. Andrea Romano, the director, said, we got to separate you two because it's like two 12-year-olds in there. You're having too much fun. I love working. He's a generous actor, and I've watched him watch other actors too. And he's like gets on the edge of his seat and you watch actors because he just gets such joy out of watching good performances. And not all actors are like that. A lot of them are ready to just stab you in the back. There's a lot of jealousy and competition in this business, as there is in any business. But so the actors that are generous like that, I just relish, and I appreciate so much. So it'd have to be Mark.
Talking about having fun, your Batman voice has defined the character for a whole generation of people. Obviously, they have their favourite lines. I'm curious, are there particular lines that you've really enjoyed with that voice? And have you ever used the voice for personal purposes?
For nefarious purposes? Actually, a friend had me call their child to make sure they did their homework because he was falling behind in school. This is Batman. You better get your homework done or I'm going to come into your bedroom in the middle of the night and you're not going to like it. She said it terrified him so much.
Which was good.
Which was the point.
What about lines that made it onto the show then?
Yeah, I mean, I am vengeance, I am the night. That's the iconic line. So many of the lines that I loved most are the ones that reveal the soul of Batman, because he's such a dark character, and it's all about the pain that resides in him. So, I think the best Batman movie of all of them, the live action and the animated, is Mask of the Phantasm, which was the first animated Batman movie, because it shows the whole arc of the development of the character. And you see what happened to him as a child. And then he has this scene at his parents' grave where he's begging with them to release him from his vow, because he's fallen in love for the first time in his life with Andrea Beaumont. And he didn't think he'd ever be able to love. And he's breaking down. And that scene, I loved that scene, and I loved playing it. And I was really proud of it, because you have to show the humanity of the man. Those moments where it shows his humanity and the struggle within him are the lines that I've had the most fun with.